$1 billion, a dream to build apps in minutes, and one word that sold it all? AI. In 2023, Builder.ai wasn't just another startup. It was a phenomenon, a tiny company that claimed it had cracked the code to software development itself.
Of Builder.ai.
CEO Sachin Dugal.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Chief Wizard of Builder.ai has stopped by.
Headlines screamed of a revolution. Microsoft stepped in, investing millions in integrating Builder.ai's AI assistant, Natasha, into Microsoft Teams. TechCrunch called it the democratization of software. The Financial Times hailed it as a billion-dollar unicorn born in London. And for a moment, it looked like the future had arrived. But beneath the glowing press releases and flashy promises, there was another story, a quieter one. A story that would eventually unravel the entire company, because Builder.ai wasn't what it seemed. This is the story of how one word, AI, became the most powerful illusion in business today. The premise was irresistible. Builder.ai, formerly known as Engineering.ai, launched in 2016 in London, co-founded by Sachin Dev Dugal and his longtime friend Saurabh Dut, both alumni of Imperial College London. Dugal had co-founded Niveo before, a cloud computing venture that claimed a $100 million valuation and exited via sale. It was that history that positioned Builder.ai as the next big thing in tech. Their pitch was audacious yet simple. App creation could be as easy as ordering pizza. Choose the base, add features like toppings, and let Natasha, their AI assistant, do the rest. Before long, they branded themselves a low-code, no-code solution that promised 6 times faster builds and 70% cheaper than traditional development. The company staged a rapid and deliberate expansion. Between early 2021 and 2022, headcount nearly doubled, from around 265 to 450 employees, as Dugal ramped up operations across London, Delhi NCR, Los Angeles, and Singapore. They also struck a partnership with India's ZNet Technologies to tap into small and medium businesses, promising easy app building tools even for the non-tech savvy. By then, they claimed 300% year-over-year growth and boasted deployment of over 40,000 features in a single year. Investors were captivated. The Series A in 2018 raised $29 million. By early 2022, a Series C added $100 million, led by Insight Partners Builder.ai. Just over a year later, the Qatar Investment Authority dropped another $250 million, tipping their total to over $450 million. Microsoft signed on as a strategic partner, even integrating Natasha with Teams. Fast Company named them among the most innovative startups in AI. On the surface, it all made perfect sense. A lean London startup, global reach, high-profile investors, and a mission to revolutionize software creation. But cracks were already forming behind the glamour. In India, rumors brewed. Whistleblowers alleged that internal dissent was growing. One former employee even launched a lawsuit in 2019, seeking $5 million, claiming he was fired after raising concerns over misleading practices. Meanwhile, contrary to the image of sleek automation, the truth was more human. By the time of collapse, over 700 engineers in India were reportedly coding manually, not AI. The promise of a self-driving app factory turning out to be cut-and-paste code stitched together by human hands. In 2019, the Wall Street Journal pulled at a loose thread. And when the fabric started to unravel, what they found was shocking. Despite the marketing, Builder.ai's supposed AI wasn't actually writing code. There was no automated brain designing software overnight. Behind the curtain was something much more human. 700 engineers, mostly in India, working manually. Builder.ai had simply packaged human labor in a shiny box labeled AI. Now, outsourcing isn't unusual. Many tech companies rely on global teams. The problem wasn't the work itself, it was the illusion. The very heart of Builder.ai's billion-dollar story was supposed to be artificial intelligence. Without it, the promise unraveled.
But the illusion didn't stop at technology. It extended to the company's finances. Builder.ai had a habit of booking revenue up front. Let's say a client signed a $50,000 contract but paid only a $500 deposit. Builder.ai recorded the entire $50,000 immediately, as if the deal was already done. On paper, it looked like growth was exploding. In reality, much of that revenue was still just a promise. And there was more. Builder.ai also booked upgrades at full price, even when customers were given those upgrades for free. According to insiders, this wasn't a mistake. It was a strategy. Former staff called it an ocean of inflated figures. Some described circular deals where resellers paid Builder.ai, only for Builder.ai to route the money back in different ways, creating the illusion of revenue that didn't really exist. It's the kind of financial sleight of hand that has brought down giants before. Enron, Wirecard, Luckin Coffee. Illusions that grew too big to sustain. And as the cracks widened, the billion-dollar promise began to look less like a revolution and more like a house of cards.
If Builder.ai were just one failed startup, it would be easy to dismiss, a footnote in the endless churn of Silicon Valley. But the story fits into a much larger pattern, a pattern of illusions. Think of Theranos, a drop of blood, a medical revolution, and a $9 billion valuation, until it all came crashing down. Think of WeWork, a real estate business disguised as a tech company, hyped into a $47 billion empire. Think of FTX, the crypto exchange that promised safety and transparency before vanishing in one of the biggest financial frauds in history. Different industries, different founders, but the same structure. A charismatic leader, a revolutionary product, a flood of money, desperate to believe. And finally, collapse. Builder.ai wasn't just about selling software, it was about selling hope. Hope that technology could do the impossible. Hope that AI could remove all barriers. But hope has a cost, and in business, when hope collides with reality, it often ends in disaster. This is why Builder.ai matters, not because of the apps it failed to build, but because of what it reveals about us, our willingness to suspend disbelief, to chase miracles, and to hand over billions to the shiniest story in the room. The tension that had quietly built in boardrooms and back channels finally snapped in 2025. In early spring, Builder.ai found itself neck-deep in financial peril. A routine audit under new CEO Manpreet Ratia uncovered a staggering truth. The company had overstated its 2024 revenue by a jaw-dropping 300%. What they claimed was $220 million looked more like an inflated fantasy. The actual number hovered closer to $50 million. It was enough to trigger a default. Lender Viola Credit swooped in, seizing $37 million from Builder.ai's accounts. That move was the iceberg. Suddenly, the company had just $5 million in restricted cash, spread across foreign bank accounts, tied up by regulations, and effectively unusable. Operations screeched to a halt. Offices in London, Singapore, the US, and India hushed. Creditors were lining up. Builder.ai had depleted its runway in a matter of weeks. But this collapse wasn't only about numbers. It unraveled the carefully woven fabric of illusion and prestige. Builders of this illusion included some of the largest names in tech. Yet behind closed doors, Builder.ai had unpaid debts exceeding $100 million, $85 million to Amazon Web Services, and $30 million to Microsoft's Azure. When your AI future still hasn't paid its rent, you're living in an illusion. This was more than a bankruptcy. This was a collapse on multiple fronts. Boardroom conflicts erupted, the advisory board was slashed from 9 members to just 5, and Dugal was urged to give up 4 of his seats. Despite stepping aside as CEO in February 2025, he clung to the title of Chief Wizard and influence over the board.
At the same time, the darkest revelation of all surfaced. Internal audits revealed round tripping, suspicious deals with Indian firm Verse Innovation, Daily Hunt's parent company, where Builder.ai allegedly recorded fictitious sales to prop up its numbers. It was fake revenue masquerading as real. Then came the federal knock. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York issued a subpoena demanding books, customer data, and financial records. Not a routine compliance check, this was a serious criminal probe. Meanwhile, Builder.ai continued to burn cash at a staggering pace, and by May 2025, bankruptcy filings became unavoidable. The company declared assets barely worth a fraction of its liabilities, $10 million in assets facing a $100 million debt pile. Connectivity with its customers evaporated, the website went dark, the dream evaporated. For the workforce, it was equally catastrophic. Over 80% of employees were laid off overnight. Nearly 1,000 people lost their jobs. Teams across continents were left stranded by a company that had promised generation-defining AI, but delivered only chaos. One of the former employees said, "One day we were building the future, the next day we were handed pink slips and silence." Builder.ai had burned through $500 million in investments, driven global attention, and inspired headlines, only to collapse under its own illusion. But the story doesn't end with Builder.ai, because Builder.ai is a mirror reflecting us, our hunger for shortcuts, our obsession with disruption, and our blind faith in technology's promises. We want to believe that billion-dollar miracles can be built overnight. We want to believe that AI can do what humans can't, and companies like Builder.ai feed that desire. They sell us illusions and we buy them willingly, but illusions don't last. And when they collapse, they leave behind more than bankrupt companies. They leave broken trust. In the end, the illusion wasn't Builder.ai itself. It was our belief that magic could replace reality.
Until next time, question the shine, because wealth without truth never lasts.